Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Just because Crimsix has retired doesn't mean the content isn't still fully flowing. Crim calling out many of the players in the league for not being good teammates at all, effectively being shameless in their decision to just chase the bag and the contract rather than actually try and be the best teammate and team that they can possibly be. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Crim's story here in a second talks about iLLeY a bit as well. Just wanted to say a few words here on iLLeY because, as he says, 3 more weeks until Modern Warfare 2 is released, but of course we don't know what iLLeY's situation is. We thought honestly going into this off season there would be a fair bit of talk about iLLeY and okay, is he going to be ready for the new season? How's the thumb injury getting on? Of course we know that it got better after he had a couple of things done, and it was certainly better at the end of the season. He played at the World Championship, but it was even revealed after that, I think Rambo said on stream, that iLLeY wasn't 100% comfortable. He was kind of playing through some discomforts, and obviously that was a key issue that he had, and still it wasn't perfect even at the World Championship, and he was just playing through the issue, which then makes you think, okay, what's going to happen to iLLeY after the fact? We of course heard the fact that OpTic were going to make some changes, and maybe partly because they weren't convinced that iLLeY was going to be okay, and then either he did convince them or everything's all okay now, but there is still a bit of a concern there, right? So we'll see, and I kind of expected over the last couple of weeks to have some updates from iLLeY or the team as to what's going on. Is he doing some sort of surgery? Is everything going well? And I suppose it's good that we have no news, right? I suppose no news is better than, bad news. Any news maybe is bad news to some degree, so maybe that's a positive thing, but it's still interesting because I'm sure when the game comes out, iLLeY's going to be grinding very hard and very quickly, and I mean, you need to be this season because this season starts earlier than ever, right? It starts right at the start of December, which means that teams have effectively 1 month, every day of practice is going to be imperative when the game launches, and they can't afford any issues here with iLLeY again. So if there's one season where you don't want any issues with your thumb, it is this precise season, and hopefully everything's okay with iLLeY. Maybe we'll get some updates in due course as well. Just to mention this real quick, because of course the Ricochet anti-cheat has been in Call of Duty for a little bit of time, but apparently for Overwatch 2, they've brought over a new anti-cheat system, an anti-tamper tool recently seen in Apex and Fortnite, which was added to Overwatch 2. So this is some sort of in-house anti-cheat tool. I'm guessing it's pretty good. I don't know if you guys play Apex or, whatever, to actually know whether this anti-cheat works, but I guess it's a way to, if you're trying to inject the cheats, as Doug Martin eloquently described, that it doesn't let you do that, or it notices you've done it or whatever, because I'm not sure Ricochet really does the best job. So, that's the question really here, that if this anti-cheat is arriving to Overwatch 2, then why wouldn't it arrive also to Modern Warfare 2? Could be a pretty big deal, could be a lot more cheaters getting exposed in due course. We don't necessarily have to rely on Detective Doug to do the work for us. Just to mention this real quick as well, because as I say, Modern Warfare 2 is starting early, and even this tournament from the Boston Breach, shortly after launch in due course, really it's only about 3 weeks here after launch. This is only about 1 week before the CDL actually begins, but they're doing an open LAN event on the 19th of November, 7k prize pool, 32 teams, Helix Esports, so I guess, yeah, get signed up to this one if you guys are in the local area and want to play in a Modern Warfare 2 LAN. And I thought this was kind of interesting as well here, Slasher really looking to play some Modern Warfare Remastered Search and Destroy. It does make me wonder how Search and Destroy is going to play in this upcoming game. Of course, look, most Call of Duty games have had Dead Silence and something reasonable like that, or at least a ninja perk or something, but yeah, for the upcoming game, we don't know if we're going to get it. Sledgehammer Games revealed Ninja was going to be in the game about 3 days before the real game launch. I don't, in fairness, expect a similar update here from Infinity Ward, but we can only hope at this point. But as he says, chalk cold wipe, let's play for some real Search and Destroy. No one's playing MWR Bro except Tupac Thug Lords, and apparently it might be possible to play it on the PC. Apparently you just need a lobby to get it started, so we'll see if anything like that actually happens. And just to say this on Modern Warfare 2 as well, describe this Modern Warfare 2 class. I mean, look at this, ACR one-man army. This is how things used to look back in the day. You didn't used to have your gunsmith, you just choose your ACR, you choose your attachment, your noob tube of course, and I mean, yeah, what a disgusting class, to be honest. Even got the martyrdom on here as well, just for maximum pain factor. But yeah, that's, I suppose, Modern Warfare 2 in a nutshell. This from Pred as well, speaking of content, he's actually done his first ever vlog. He's back out there in Australia right now for a little while before he comes back, of course, to the US for the Seattle Surge's run for the upcoming season. We just wanted to shout this out because, yeah, Pred killing it on the content side the last couple of weeks and looking dapper as per usual. Let's talk about Crim then, baby. So he does the Crimcast a couple of days ago, even as Slasher says he'll apply fluent in English C+, and homie speak, he says, because Crim, you can't stop this guy. But what he was talking about was a story a few years ago when he was on the Dallas Empire in 2000 2020, and it was kind of the pandemic edition. He was playing terribly, and his teammates, Shotzzy, iLLeY, Huke, and Clayster, said, look, Crim, you're playing awful, you're playing too much Warzone, you got to focus up and become the best version of yourself if we actually want to keep you on the team, because you're costing us right now. And that was kind of in the early part of the season. He heard that and he was like, yeah, you know what, you're right, you're telling me what, you know, I already know to be true, but I wasn't like willing to believe it myself. And yeah, you're right, in order to do the best for you guys, I'm going to commit to absolutely everything I possibly can and go all out. And of course ends up becoming arguably one of the best players on the team towards the end of the year, and actually winning in surprising fashion to many people the World Championship MVP. Shotzzy was the regular season MVP, but Crim got the Championship MVP for being arguably the most impactful player that entire weekend. Yes, it was online, but it is what it is. Now, Crim, after recounting that story, goes on to say that many players in the league right now are not willing to do anything like that. First of all, they're not willing necessarily to improve, let's say as Crimsix did, but also not necessarily willing, as his teammates were, to call out their teammates and to say, look, to be the best team we can possibly be, we're going to need you to step it up, or do X, do Y, do Z. And seemingly many players, he reckons, are just shamelessly getting the contract rather than actually trying to win.
But like that one moment that my teammates said to me, like made me realize, like, because I knew it was true. I knew what they were saying was true. I was grinding Warzone all night, this and that. My priorities were, and that was one of those moments where it's just like, that was exactly what I needed to hear to like push me over the edge and do something about it. And that's all I've ever wanted my teammates to ever do, is to recognize problems, whether it's by themselves, whether it's the help from another teammate, and do something about it. So that's why I'm honest and harsh. But and I would say a lot of people, most of the teammates I played with, they end up understanding. It just takes them some time. But I genuinely care about every single person that's on my team, whether I actually don't like them or whether I love them. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm a teammate, and I feel like a lot of the teams, a lot of the players in the CDL, like, they lack that. They're either friends or they're just, you know, there for till their contract's up. They're not actually teammates to other players on their team. And to me, you know, it's shameless. It is so shameless. But
so this is kind of like a classic Crimsix thing to say to some degree, and he's mentioned this kind of topic in the past, where he believes, of course, that he was a great teammate. It may not have gone over well with everyone. He says that eventually people he teamed with got the idea and got the philosophy of what he was trying to employ, and he didn't like mean ill on anyone. He was just trying to make them become the best version of themselves so that they could be the best team that they could possibly be. And he says that on Dallas Empire, that's why I believe after Dallas Empire, I think he came out and said that that was like the best team he'd ever been on, and that caused a lot of controversy compared to the OpTic dynasty and even the Complexity dynasty. But you know, maybe this is one of the reasons why he thought that as a team, they just worked entirely as he would like it to work, and then it went to 4v4, and Modern Warfare went into Cold War, and Cold War didn't really work out after the Huke drama without Clayster there, and then everything kind of fell apart for Crim. But do you guys think Crim has a point? And look, he's a 38-time champion, he probably does have a point to some degree, but if he does, which players might he be talking about it? So these, of course, were the players in the league last season, and very few of these players, in fairness, are winners, and even fewer are winners on a consistent basis. And Crim has effectively said that many of these guys are pretty much just here for the paycheck, they're here for the contract, they're here for the salary, and they're not really here to call their teammates out or try and be the best version they can be. And I think this is a kind of a consistent trend nowadays, that because there's more money here, back in the good old days, you could argue, like it's not really the good old days from a perspective of making this a viable career option for many players, but I think a lot of people would look back on, you know, the early days of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and the like, where you couldn't rely on a salary to get your monthly income, you had to go to events and win. And obviously back then, a lot of people were more immature, the teams would break apart every couple of weeks, but arguably that was because the teams had to win, they had to be the best they possibly could be, teammates would call each other out if they weren't putting in 100%, and if they didn't like that, unlucky you get dropped, things change around. Nowadays, it may be a different story, where if teams are underperforming, that's alright, because you're still getting your salary at the end of the month from these big organizations. And also, if you call out your teammate and you say, you know what, you're not putting in the work, like let's say they did to Crim in that example that he gives, negatives, then, you know, maybe Crim, like, resents them. Like, obviously, Crim's built different, right? But, you know, other players might resent a certain player for calling them out in that way, and therefore that hurts the bridges with the team. Then the team might turn on that player, they might get dropped from the team, other players might hear that rumor. So this is the thing that how it works nowadays, is that let's say you're the new version of the New York subliners going into the upcoming season, no longer with Crimsix, but still Hydra, Kiz is there, and you're, you know, your Sky's your Priester, and Hydra isn't putting in the work, and you call out Hydra, you're like, you know, I'm not gonna have this, like, do you want to actually win here, or what are you doing? And then, you know, you call him out, and then all of a sudden there's a bit of drama there with Hydra. He's thinking, okay, I don't really like this guy. Hydra's then the chosen boy, Priester then gets dropped, and, you know, things could go badly wrong. So I think nowadays there's more incentive for players to kind of just shut their mouth a little bit and not really say maybe what they think they want to say, just because you can't really risk getting dropped. But also, if you do get dropped, then other players might not want to team with you if you have a history of doing stuff like this, as clearly Crimsix does, and he's obviously not helped his relationships with other players as a result. But, you know, that's kind of like the double-edged sword of you either, you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You go hard on your teammates to try and make the team be as good as it can be. It either works out and you win a lot, or it doesn't work out and the team drops you, and you eventually, well, find yourself out of the league because no one wants to play with you anymore. So it's kind of crazy how things have turned out, but I think that's kind of what Crimsix is getting at. There's some players, you guys can take your pick as to who, aren't necessarily just here to win, but are here more to kind of maintain their relationships and make sure they can get the bag for as long as they possibly can, even if they turn up and get top 6, top 8 every tournament. I'm sure they want to win, but do they really commit to being the best? I mean, that's why Crimsix won 38 championships at the end of the day. So it was a very interesting discussion, to be honest. Definitely intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comment section below. And given we were talking about that, I thought it was interesting here on Shotzzy, because he actually did an interview with Deserto where they discussed, you know, his $300,000 buyout at the start of, well, going into Modern Warfare. Crazy buyout, really, if you think about it, because I think he was going to go to Toronto, maybe, but of course, Hastro and Envy bought him out to go into the Dallas Empire, a guy that had never played a professional game in Call of Duty, to, well, have that much of a buyout. And even Huke, of course, took his pay cut to get Shotzzy on the team. Like a crazy story, and still the only world champion in both Halo and Call of Duty, although that may change in just a couple of weeks' time when Formal and the OpTic Halo team goes to the World Championship in the Halo side for 2022. And even as he mentions here, the story of his kind of rise through esports. So, you know, it's interesting to compare the two of them because, you know, for now, 2 games, 2 rings. If Formal gets his ring, that may change. Of course, Shotzi's peak was crazy in Halo, but Formal's peak in Call of Duty was also crazy, and Formal has the longevity factors. How do you kind of balance out between the two? I'd probably like give it Formal's way for now, but, you know, you guys can have your perspective in the comment section below. And I just thought I'd mention this, given we were talking about the kind of good old days in Call of Duty. This is a thread that was kind of being mentioned here from 2015, as Spacely says, wish myself and Killer could have teamed, but it came down to the point where we weren't even going to go to the event. Killer goes on to say, no point, I get dropped by Emblos, that big Embos of course, and the only option I have is no hands dug, I'll pass. Kind of funny, came up with no hands dug, not even no thumbs dug, straight up no hands. And then as Doug says in the reply here back in 2015, I won 3 championships without hands since the last time you've won. Impressive, eh? You know, what for? You are pretty terrible. So just absolute comedy. Very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us YouTube gods, it's a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.